Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly edition of The Ward. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest. My goal here is to keep my ear to the ground of collegiate League of Legends topics and bring them to you on a weekly basis. And with those topics, we'll have guests on as well, I should say. Sorry, kind of fumbling over my words there, but yeah, we will have a guest every week. And last week we had Drake Porter from Columbia College. Gonna go and transition my screens here. And this week, as you see now, we do have Jeff Buttrader Fu. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty great. Thank you very much for having me on this show.
I know. No problem. Thanks for being here. So I know I've given you a heads up on some of these questions, and one of them was, how did you get the name Butt Raider? That is probably the most important part of your entire career right now, because that is how a lot of people know you. I mean, obviously, it's not really your most important part of your career because you are very established, and we'll get into that in a moment. But how did you get the name Butt Raider?
Uh, Interesting question, I guess. I have been asked this a lot, but I tend to defer to just saying that it's kind of a nonsense name. Really, when I first started playing League of Legends, I didn't really think I was going to play for that long. I came over to this game with some friends, and at the time, I thought I was just going to play for like a couple days and then whatever, right? And I was looking for a bunch of names, and they were all taken. So this was one of the options, I guess, that was kind of like a joke, and it wasn't taken, so I just went with it. And I guess here we are, 6 years later, and I'm still playing this game, and I still have the name. But as to why I've kept it, I think it's mostly because a lot of the people that I started playing this game with have already long quit or left the game, and I kind of want to just stay to my roots. I think that if they were ever to like come back and observe the game, they wouldn't really, I guess, know all the new names and the new people who have come into the scene. But if they see my old username, then they'll recognize me and be like, hey, that's Jeff, that's my friend. And so that's why I've always wanted to keep it.
That's fair, and I guess you can kind of say the same about mine. Mine's like a nonsense name too. And my friend gave me mine when he was drunk, so I've just kept that one as an homage to him as well. But moving on from our names, and I want to get into obviously I haven't actually introduced where you're from. You're from Simon Fraser University. You're the coach. A very established team. You actually won your conference last year, and right now you are sitting at 2-0. Not, I mean, obviously you haven't faced defeat yet. You have a game coming up, I believe, this Sunday. How do you prep
Mhm.
for games whenever you're not defeated and you're going into a new season? And you get a lot of teams, they do learn from losing and learning from their mistakes. But so far, it seems like you guys have been pretty well. Obviously, I haven't actually got the chance to see any of your games, but I'm assuming they're going well. How do you approach that from a coaching perspective, going into just a season undefeated and trying to prep for schools that you don't know that well?
Right. So even outside of these official matches, we do spend a lot of time playing scrimmages against other teams,
Mhm.
and we try to find teams that we're not going to be playing against in the Western Conference at the least, um, and we just play a lot of practices there, and we've definitely lost a lot of games in our scrims for sure.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the number one way that we improve. And we also spend a lot of time just watching VODs and kind of like watching professional games together as a team.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we are 2-0 right now, but I don't think we've really played against the top contenders in our region just yet. So we're still very skeptical of our place in the Western Conference this year. There are definitely a lot of strong teams again. I think most in particular is probably UCI. They're looking to be very tough this year. So we can't really even confidently say that we're the best in the West, really. So
Understand. I'll get to that in just one moment because I do want to ask what has improved from last year because you have relatively the same team outside of your mid laner, I believe. Is that correct, Tickmith?
mhm.
What has improved last year, and how has Tickmith integrated himself into improving your team this year?
um, so I guess for what has improved from last year, we're definitely all a lot more experienced. We kind of know what to expect now, and so I guess like we're trying not to get too complacent, but a lot of our systems are now they're a lot more streamlined, so we can jump right into the hard work, the nitty gritty stuff. Um, and also, I guess we've gotten a bit more public attention, which has helped the club side of things. We've gotten more sponsors, and hopefully that will make our lives a bit easier in the future. Um, and Tickmith, though, it's been working out really great with Tickmith. I guess skill is relative and subjective, but I think he is very skilled. He has a very high skill ceiling for sure. Some people might remember him from back when he was top 10 in North America, actually, in season 2 and 3. He was playing AD carry back then, actually, and not mid. Um, and so I think, actually, historically, he is the highest ranked player we've ever had on SFU. It doesn't necessarily mean that he is the best player right now on the team, but in the past he's outranked every single one of the other players. But despite that, he's come onto this team with no ego, and he's fully accepted his role as the rookie essentially. And attitude-wise, I think he's everything I could ask for in a player. He's very hardworking, he's very kind, he's very self-aware, and he recognizes his own mistakes, and he always puts in a lot of effort to try to fix them. But most importantly, he's just very humble. He's, you would think someone with his kind of accolades and the name and everything that maybe he would try to boss people around more or try to tell people like, hey, I used to be the best player here. What's going on? But he's never brought that up ever, and he just never stops trying his best to improve, and he always thinks that he could go further, and that's what I really like about him.
Is that sort of an environment that you like try to instill, or an atmosphere you try to create within your entire for your entire team, I should say?
Yeah, that is true. I do try to have that kind of, I guess, the air of humility.
Yeah.
We've, um, I think we've seen a lot of teams that, really thought that they could beat us very easily, and that wasn't the case. And I always tell my players, that could very much happen to us too. If we ever underestimate people, I think we will get beat. Um, but for Tick though, like it was no issue. Like as soon as he came on the team, I think he just right away he understood like I have to be humble, I have to be a good listener, I have to understand my role on the team, and yeah, that's just why he's been so amazing. I haven't had any issues with him whatsoever from the very start.
All right. Hey, I think my there we go. Okay, so um, sorry about that. Going back to your actual team, Toronto isn't much of a threat anymore. Well, as far as it was last year, it is quite different than last year. University of British Columbia, they're 2-0, and I believe Toronto is as well. So they're both still, they have a program established that has been working. But um, how do you feel you rank up as far as the overall scheme of like Canadian teams? Because those are the two. Well, there's three big ones. You're one of them, and then the other two were UBC and
Hmm.
Toronto. But things have kind of changed. You actually have relatively the same roster, and
Hmm.
well, even the same coach in you, because Invert, I believe he went up to an academy team as well over on from Toronto. Where do you think that places SFU in the grand scheme of of looking at Canada as far as teams?
Um, hmm. That's a tough question, I guess, this early in the season. I guess on paper um, you could say that we are the best Canadian team just from looking at I guess solo queue rankings and who's actually on the team and who came from last year. Uh, but then again, like on paper, we were also considered one of the weaker top tier Canadian teams for last year. Um, so I try not to judge too much on just I guess like rankings and the names and stuff like that because yeah, you never really know. I do think that I think Toronto has a lot of big shoes to fill
Yeah.
because yeah, I think yeah, like three of their players who we consider to be incredibly talented went to academy,
Hmm.
and so that's a lot of positions to fill. Um, but UBC, I do know that UBC just has such a huge influx of talent that it's almost impossible to ever count them out. Um, and I think even more importantly, UBC has what we call the underdog buff, which is it's kind of like I think it's because they're coming in to this tournament thinking that they have something to prove, that everything that to them is a challenge. They don't really have any like name to uphold or to keep or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and so they're probably well, I know they're going to be working very hard to beat us because
You guys are neighbors,
they
right?
exactly yeah we
Yeah.
are rivals, but also because like this is their first year and they have something to prove that they can beat us essentially. And I think that's such a strong thing to have mentally, that can push you to incredible lengths to work really hard. Um, Whereas I don't want to say we're complacent, but if somewhere in the back of our heads we think that we are the best, then I think that'll contribute to just a bit of laziness on our end, which might cause us to slip up. And I'm trying to do my best to prevent that from actually happening.
Gotcha. And that, I mean, that makes sense. A lot of coaches do that. And um, I was actually asking about you specifically, well, about I guess SFU. I mean, because you are a representation of SFU. You don't see too much, I guess, social media presence from Simon Fraser. It's kind of it's you, and a lot of that. I mean, a lot of the how can I say this? A lot of the I mean, you come off as really nice guys. What I'm trying to say, and I mean, there's plenty of other coaches that make a presence for themselves. While some of them come off nice, some of them also come off a little bit more pointed. You just kind of stay out of that. And I was wondering, is that something that you aim to do, or do you just I mean, let's face it, are you just a nice guy and you just don't care to get into all that?
Um, hmm.
I know, I'm going off a little bit off the sheet here. That was just something that
Oh, no.
popped up because I know Invert, he stayed away from all that. He was trying to be analytical as
Yeah.
possible, but I mean, then there's you. You're like I said, you just come off as a nice guy, and I was wondering is that if that was just something that you do on purpose, or if that's just something that you just is in your nature.
Well, that's a very complex question, I guess. I feel like I guess I try not to start anything in particular on social media just because it's. I mean, first of all, it is just all talk, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And I am kind of the belief that if you have the time to talk, you have the time to be working harder. So I just don't really see too much of a point in getting involved with this kind of stuff. Uh, and then I guess second of all, I don't really want to draw any like unnecessary heat to my players. Like my guys are definitely very hardworking guys, but they're also, they have a lot of things going on their plates. Like they're full time students. Some of them work part time just to like pay the bills and stuff like that. Um, and there's just already so much pressure on them this year, especially to succeed again because they won last year. That I don't really want to create any like unnecessary additional pressure on them by I guess starting fights or something or like uh, hyping them up too much because I know that they already recognize that and they already feel that. And I think my job as a coach is to try to draw fire away from them and not, add gas to the fire or anything like that. So,
Sure. All
yeah.
right. Going back to you though, this is probably the final question here. Where do you see yourself on the grand scheme of things? Because I mentioned earlier that we're going to get to your accomplishments, and now I'm going to now. Yeah, you won your conference last year, beating out UBC, and it's a very thrilling best of three, by the way. If anyone that's still on YouTube, I actually referenced that game quite a bit because the mini controller there was amazing. But so you won your division, your conference last year. You also won the Collegiate Star League Canadian Invitational. Where do you see yourself as far as the grand scheme of things as a coaches? Because you have a pretty accomplished record thus far.
I'm I'm not too certain to be honest because I feel like the accomplishments that the team has garnered, like the titles that we've won so far, they're not really truthfully they're not really my accomplishments. I feel like I was just very lucky to be given this talented and cohesive roster. Even without having to go out to look for any players, they were all students just at my school, and so I just think that's honestly just me getting very lucky. I feel like had I been given a roster that wasn't of this caliber, I don't know if I could have impacted a team enough to still get the same kind of achievements, I guess. And so really these wins, like they're not really my wins. It's their wins as the players. And so they deserve the accolades more than I do, I think. So I've never really considered myself to be like some great coach or anything like that. I just think that I got very lucky with the players that I was given. I just got dealt a lucky hand, honestly. And I haven't really taken coaching seriously until very recently, actually. At the start of the last competitive year, well, I had just graduated school and I was transitioned to working full time, and so coaching these guys was kind of uh, I guess it came out of a necessity because our old coach left and he put me in charge. And so I saw it as kind of like a volunteering, as a hobby kind of thing. Um, and I otherwise thought that my path in life was already set. And it wasn't until we actually found some success and I decided to come back for a second year that I actually decided to take this coaching kind of position with a lot more seriousness. Um, but even then, I haven't really thought about what comes next. I guess
Hmm.
um, I understand that a lot of players and a lot of coaches in the collegiate scene, they try to view collegiate as like a stepping stone. They try to see like what they can achieve so that they can prove themselves and move on to like the LCS or something like that. But none of the guys that I've worked with, or even myself, really have honestly considered that. I think for my players too, they're very set on what they want in life, which is to get a good education. And collegiate is just something to help them achieve that goal. It does help them develop discipline. It helps them develop good attitudes. And all at the same time, of course, it helps pay for their education, which is very important for them. Um, and for me too, I haven't really thought of this as something to try to elevate myself to get a name out there. Really, I just very care about these guys that I've picked up, and I want to see them go as far as they can. And I do feel like once this iteration of the roster dissipates, that might just be the end of my coaching career because I'm honestly in it for them and not really for like the coaching aspect itself, I guess.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's actually really good to know because that means I'll have to get used to a new SFU in a couple of years. I don't know when everyone graduates, but that is still really good to know. And either way, man, you sound extremely humble. So, yeah, thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, Jeff.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Hey, no problem, man. Good luck in this season. Good luck this Sunday. I believe that's your game. And either way, I'll see you
Mhm.
around, man.
Okay. Thank you so much, Josh.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you. All right, and that was Jeff Buttrader Fu, the coach for Simon Fraser University. Very humble dude. Well, really enjoy really enjoyed interviewing him. But we are going to go on to the next round of topics here. First one is McGill. They are disqualified from the competition because they were caught using a ringer. And that completely ruined their entire season. So, from the Riot website itself, McGill University had a player not on their roster share the account of one of their rostered players in the official college season match against Hunter College. And as a result, the school, the six roster players, the ringer, and the manager are disqualified from the 2018 college season and suspended for the rest of the season. So that's pretty intense. That means that they are completely out, and I guess better luck next year, and hope to hell they don't do this again. This is something that happens, I believe, every once a year, probably more than once a year. But Riot has software to catch all that. Just so you know, they've been. I even have a tweet from Sherman, Riot Sherman, saying that they've been having their hand in catching this sort of thing since 2015. So it's been happening for a while, and Riot's been getting pretty good at it. So just don't cheat because you're going to get your whole entire team disqualified. Moving on, though, Peach Belt Conference. Told you last week that I was going to talk about the Peach Belt Conference this week. Got some information on them, so going to go ahead and run down some of the names there. So far, just like I said, just the colleges right now. That's Augusta, Clayton, Columbus State, Flagler, Francis Marion, Georgia Southwestern, Lander, Unity of North Carolina at Pembroke, not to be confused with North Carolina State. They are actually they're in the college law section of it. University of North Georgia, University of South Carolina Aiken, and Young Harris College. Now, if you go to the website, it says that they're the first NCAA conference to join the College League of Legends this year, College League of Legends tournament this year, and that is technically true because they were announced before the Big Ten conference, and last year it was ULaw, this year is College Law, so it is technically true. The Peach Belt Conference was the first NCAA conference to be added to the College Law Championship tournament. With that being said, the commissioner of the Peach Belt Conference is actually really enthusiastic. I want to read a quote from him real quick. We are very grateful to Riot Games for supporting us and giving us the opportunity to forge a new path for the NCAA Conference. That is David R. Brunk, and again the commissioner for the Peach Belt Conference, and it's nice seeing enthusiasm from someone of importance, someone big. I mean, he's the commissioner of the Peach Belt Conference, which in itself isn't, as I guess you could say as huge as the Big Ten or Pac-12 or anything like that, but still a prominent figure who is acknowledging this and enthusiastic about it. That's actually very important. As far as how they play into college law, 8 teams from the Peach Belt Conference will advance to the Peach Belt Conference Championships. That's going to be held in March, actually at a live stage. So 8 teams will be playing live in March for a chance to enter into the college law playoffs, play-ins, I should say, and that will be the finalists and the champion of the Peach Belt Conference. So um, yeah, that's how they are going to fit in with the Big Ten and getting into the college law play-ins. Very excited for that one. Like I said, that would be happening in March. Moving on to another conference, actually. This one a little bit different. Pac-12. Put a question mark on that, obviously. I think, yeah, right there. Put a question mark on that, obviously. And there's a reason for that because this is not the official recognized Pac-12. It is made up from some of the schools, though. Not all of them, but I believe 11 of them. I'm going to ramble them off here, but you can count in your head. University of Arizona, Arizona State, University of California, Berkeley, University of Colorado, Boulder. That is very important, not the actual University of Colorado. University of Oregon, Oregon State, Stanford, University of California, LA, UCLA, some people call them. University of Southern California, University of Utah, and Washington State University, which not to be confused with University of Washington, who is the only one absent right now. Washington State, fun fact, a lot of people say that Maryville University are the first United States team to win a Riot Collegiate Championship. It's actually Washington State. They won the very first one, followed by 2 University of British Columbia championships, and then Maryville, which not taken away from Maryville, but I'm pretty sure the Maryville team could have beat that team. But still, Washington State, they have something in their record saying that they are a champion for the Collegiate League of Legends. So that is that. Um, as far as the history of Pac-12, there were actually talks of incorporating it into the college law season back in, I believe it was May. Yeah, back in May. But there wasn't a unanimous decision to incorporate it. And in November, the talks failed, and that pretty much led to the students of those schools mentioned to step forward and say, hey, we want to create our own sort of league. Within our own division, with our own area. So that's essentially what they did, and that gave rise to what is called Pac-G, the Pac-12, except Pac-G, because G standing for gaming. And you can actually go to pac.gg to check out the article actually by them. But the idea was to kind of influence the schools to promote collegiate. Well, I'm not going to say just Collegiate League of Legends, but collegiate gaming in general. Collegiate League of Legends, being the topic here. But that is the main idea. Utah, by the way, Utah is the only school of the Pac-G to actually have scholarship program in their school, and the other schools want that too. So this is an effort to sort of push that notion, try to get that going. Moving on, the Wichita tournament is actually about to be underway. The seeding has happened, and I'm actually going to throw up the standings right now, and you can see them. One of the little tidbits about this is that Columbia College actually beat. We're in the seeding. Let me clarify. This is for the seeding. Columbia College, their blue team, which is their main team, actually beat Maryville for the seeding spot during C's, I should say. Really, that was actually really surprising. But again, it was seeds, so it's not exactly 100% official, saying that Columbia College can beat Maryville University. But with that said, this is the standings. As you can see, it's not all collegiate teams. Some of it, ASIO, Sloth Esports, some of you might recognize. Zenith Esports have been very popular. But there are quite a few collegiate teams as well, and I will be keeping up with that as it goes on. I believe it's actually just going to be this weekend, and the first game is actually going to be Sloth Esports versus ASIO Esports in about 30 minutes, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Actually, it might have been 7 o'clock their time now that I think about it, but I didn't actually check that one. But either way, Sloth Esports and ASIO Esports are going to be the first one. And if it's going to be happening pretty soon, or if it's already happened, you can go check out that VOD on Wichita Esports' Twitter. They have all their information there. They also have the their website. I think it's called Wichita Convention. But either way, Wichita Esports is the Twitter for them, and you can go check that out. And they should have all the information there for you. Probably, obviously, a little bit more than me. But yeah, that'll be that. And good luck to all the collegiate teams in there. I'm really excited for Maryville versus Columbia College once again because I believe they're on the opposite side of brackets. They could meet in the finals. And that would be very exciting. I would really love to see that. That'd be a preview of what I expect to see sometime in college law. But moving on, team of the week is going to be Boise State University, and mainly the reason why for that is because um, well, they don't have the best team right now. They do have a very bright future in collegiate League of Legends, in my opinion, collegiate esports in general. Um, and if you don't know who Boise State University is, they actually, I don't know if you watch NCAA, but they are known for having a blue turf for their football game. So if you ever watch a football game from Boise State University, they actually their field is blue. I mean, that's can't get any more legit than that. But um, yeah, they have so I'm going to go backtrack a little bit. They have a really big driving force to promote future collegiate esports there, and that's because of a guy named Dr. Chris Haskell. He's a prominent figure spearheading this entire thing and giving them a facility, things like that. He's also writing a book on collegiate esports, which yours truly has hopefully contributed to it. I mean, I would like to see my entries in there, but it's up to him being the author whether or not he puts it in there. But um, yeah, he has a huge enthusiasm for collegiate esports. He knows it's the future, and that's why I believe that Boise State they will have a solidified place in collegiate esports in the future because there's a lot of enthusiasm behind that. And when there's enthusiasm, there's usually support. And when there's support, that means a program and a system will be built, and that ensures a life of collegiate esports for years and years to come, just like any other sport. I mean, obviously they have a pretty prominent football team as well, so hopefully they can do the same for their collegiate esports team. Right now, I don't know if I mentioned, but again, right now they are 1-1 in their record. Like I said, it is one of those things, work in progress. They will be getting better year after year because there is going to be funding. There is going to be resources being poured into the program. So Boise State, team of the week, that is why. Upcoming games, we're actually winding down here. We have 4 upcoming games this weekend. On the 3rd, that is the Saturday, that's tomorrow. That is going to be New Hampshire versus Quinnipiac. They're both 1-1 right now. That's at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then at 3 o'clock, sorry, at 3 o'clock it'll be Victoria versus Mount Royal. Both of them are 2-0. So yeah, that'll be one of those teams are going to take a loss tomorrow. And again, that is going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then on Sunday, Kansas State will be taking on Michigan Tech. Both of them are undefeated as well. And that is at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then at 3 o'clock later on that day, I will be casting this one. I'm very excited because it is University of British Columbia, who we mentioned earlier with Jeff Fu. That will be University of British Columbia versus UC Berkeley. And UC Berkeley, a prominent team as well, been in the Collegiate League of Legends scene for years. So very excited for that one. Both of those teams are undefeated as well. And once again, that is on Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is all for the topics that I have today. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to give a quick shout out to some social medias here. You can follow C Star League at C Star League. And if you want just specifically League of Legends things, it is CSLLOL on Twitter. You can also follow me at Fekez. You can follow my guest at Buttraider, all one word, BUTTRAIDER. Go follow him. Thank you once again, Jeff, if you're listening. Thank you again for being on the show. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Again, my name is Joshua Fekez Quest. We'll be back next Friday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, with a whole new batch of topics. There's always something happening in Collegiate League of Legends. I mean, hopefully there'll be no more disqualifications, but if it happens, I will be talking about it and telling you not to cheat because it's bad. You get caught. Riot's good at this. Anyways, see you next week. Have a good night.